guys, it's Lady Raven, the Wild Witch, and I'm coming to you today from my altar room. So let's dive into the topic. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. Time kind of got away from me, which you guys are probably tired of hearing because I suck at time management. So let's take a minute and let's start thinking about cleansing and purification, which is the theme of the month of February, right? So when we start looking at the Sabbath we just had, Imbolc, this basically means it's a time for a cleansing and purification in order to get things ready for the massive growth and manifestation and fertility time that's going to be coming up in March, April, May timeframe, right? So this is basically the theme of February. So it's a great time for us to decide to either do like maybe some cleaning around the house to remove some of the clutter that we have everywhere. Another thing that is really good to do during this time is going to be to cleanse yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all different ways. So today we're going to talk about these different areas of purification that you can focus on in your everyday life in order to get the most of everything that is coming to you this season. So let's talk about your space first. So there's a reason why it's called spring cleaning. In order to make room for something new, you got to get rid of something old. So this is a great time to start kind of straightening up around your space. And really, one of the things that I want you to do if you decide to do some spring cleaning this month is really keep focused on what your goals are and how this cleaning that you're doing is facilitating those goals from happening and from working out the way that they're supposed to work out. So there's a correlation between those two, right? We are preparing. The cleansing is a preparation, almost like preparing the soil to plant or preparing things to do the work that we're going to do later. So don't just shove things in the closet if you're going to spring clean to get them out of sight, out of mind, because they're still going to be there. Really think strategically. Even if you don't do as much, do a little bit less and make sure that it is really hitting the mark of where the spaces are that you need to have cleansed and you need to have in order for you to start moving forward with your progress during February. So for example, for me, there's two rooms that come to mind that are really necessary to be cleansed for this time. One is my bedroom. I can't think if my bedroom's a mess. And second for me is the kitchen. Kitchen is where I do a lot of I love to cook, so I do a lot of my cooking in there. I do a lot of my blending in there. I do a lot of my concoctions when I'm trying to think of ideas to do different things. All of that takes place in the kitchen. So this is a place that you guys can go and you can do some work in your kitchen or in your bedroom. And whatever feels right for you. If kitchen and bedroom is not your jam, maybe it's living room and den, or maybe it's your altar room that maybe you only clean it once a year, which you really shouldn't. You clean it more often than that. But if you only clean it once a year, then make that the focus of the work that you're trying to do. So it's a matter of when you start doing purification and cleansing with purpose, the important part of it is to really focus on what you're doing and make sure that you are, in order to elevate that action from a very mundane everyday action to something more sacred, it requires a few things. It requires reverence, respect, and it requires an approach of sacredness in order for you to do that. So if that's what you're going to do and you're going to incorporate it as part of your goals for the month, as part of the preparation to get things ready, make sure that your attitude is in check for that as well. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. The second thing I want to talk about is physical cleansing. Hopefully, I know most people, some people shower every day or every other day or however works out for you, and that's fine. But when I'm talking about physical cleansing, I'm not talking about just going into the shower and cleansing yourself. When I'm doing a physical cleansing bath, for me, I think one of the most important things is to do an actual bath where your entire body is soaked in the water as opposed to standing in the shower. I mean, the shower is great for everyday cleansing, but you really want, because keep in mind, when we're doing this cleansing with purpose, with reverence, with elevating the mundane action to a sacred action, you're not sitting in the tub with a hot, a spa treatment. That is not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is really to connect and visualize everything that you have on your body right now that no longer serves you, everything that doesn't need, that you're going to be sitting down down in a bath and having that cleanse, which is why I think the bath is important, because you can get into the bathtub up all the way up to here, and the water can cover most of your body, which means it's going to get everything out as you do your cleansing. So that to me is one of the most important things about physical cleansing that you can do. So let's talk about emotional cleansing. That is another thing that needs to happen. So emotional cleansing for me, one of the most important things is to come in and see which grudges am I holding? What are the things that I'm still holding on to that have been beaten down like a dead horse, that haven't been released? What do I need to release? And why is that important, right? And the reason why that's important is because these things hold you back. They keep you, as long as your mind and your body and your emotions are focused on something in the past, you're not making room for something coming in. So it's important to release kind of like all of these grudges, these negative feelings, and you may need to do spell work for that, right? So if you're right now, we are in the waning phase. We just had the full moon yesterday, so we're in the waning phase of the moon. So it's a perfect time between now and any time until the day before the new moon to do all types of emotional cleansing. And you can do any kind of spell work. So if there's things that have really been kind of harping on you, you can light a candle and release it that way. You can do some spell work involving burning it, get an herb to represent it, get a piece of paper to represent what it is, write it down, burn it. Or you can have like an item if your emotional inability to forgive someone or to move on from a certain situation is tied to another person, and you have an item that makes you think of that person. A great way to do it is to kind of build a ceremony that's going to destroy that item in the meantime. So hopefully that will destroy the hold that situation has on you, so you can release that and move forward in other ways. So that's going to be a really, really important thing. And the emotional component, I think, is one of the most crucial ones. And the reason for it is because this tends to sneak up in our subconscious, and it creates things that sometimes it creates obstacles that sometimes we're not even consciously aware of. So it may be that at times you're going to be sitting and going like, well, I wish I could, I could do this, but let's say you have a new love, perfect example, right? You have a new love and you keep constantly comparing this new love to your ex. You're basically sabotaging that relationship right from the get-go. And that is happening probably because you haven't been able to let go of your ex yet. You haven't been able to forgive or to release or to do whatever needed to do with your ex yet. And if you are in that case, maybe right now it's not the right time to start a new relationship, because you do not want, if you just got out of a relationship, you do not want it to be a big giant mess. So if you're still feeling like you're comparing the new person to the old person, what are the things, the emotional things that you're still ingrained in, that you're still connected to, that are not allowing you to be able to move forward with that new person the way that you're supposed to move forward? So those are the main things, I think, for the emotional cleansing. So let's talk about mental cleansing and purification. So this is one that gets really disregarded by most people, but this is one of the number one things that are causing stress. So a lot of times, for me, for example, what causes me the most stress is the little tasks that I have to do, right? They're easy to do, they're fast. I know I have to do them. I don't particularly like doing them, but in order for me to move forward, I have to get those small things done to get the big things done. And a lot of times I kind of just let them go because they're little, they're not going to make much of a difference. And for me, what that causes is a mental static, where those things just start building in the back of my mind. I still got to do this. 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 And so that kind of sits back there and it just turns and turns and turns. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm doing my mental cleansing is to take a day and devote it to those little things that I can knock out in a few seconds or in a few minutes even, right? So I'm going to take a day. Today, I'm not going to do anything that I would consider productive. Like, I'm not going to make any big projects. I'm not going to make big strides on anything. Today, I'm going to clear the static, the mental static. And that's really tackling all of those smaller issues. So for me, a lot of times this becomes something like, I have to schedule a doctor's appointment for this. I have to schedule a doctor's appointment for this. I got to follow up with this person for this. I got to do. So it's a bunch of little tasks that are not really ranking very high in importance, but they just sit there and they chug in the back of your mind. So it's important to clear those things out. Keep in mind that a lot of times, one of the things that can happen is those mental static things that you have, if you don't clear them up, or if you ignore them long enough, there can become an emotional tie to it. Or sometimes it's a mental static because of an emotional issue. So here's a perfect example, building on the boyfriend example that we gave, right? When we're talking about emotional cleansing. So the boyfriend example that we gave, we say, okay, I'm dating somebody new and I keep constantly comparing them to the new boyfriend. What are some of the things that are mental static from that situation, from a relationship that you are out of, that you haven't quite completely cleared yet? Maybe there's things from your ex you need to return, and you're really dreading kind of seeing that person or having to do that. Just hunker down one day, find a way to return that. Either you call them and you say, I'm leaving the box at your doorstep. You can mail it to them if you don't want to see them in person. You can contact a friend who's friends between both of you and give it to that friend and have that friend give it to them. However it is that you want to do. But that is one of the things that keeps pulling us back, right? Pulling us back. A lot of times you may have a situation where, and I see this a lot, people broke up, but they're still a little hung up on their ex, and they keep stalking them on Facebook or Instagram, or they keep driving by their house or whatever. You are not going to get anywhere by doing those things. And this is all that it's going to cause is emotional instability and mental static. So it's time to kind of stop those things. If social media, you can't stay away from their social media, block them. That way you're not going to be able to see it, period. Find another route to work where you're not constantly driving past their house, right? And I've heard a lot of people say in the past, well, another route to work is going to be a longer route than the route that I had. That's fine. Your mental health is worth that, right? Even if you're driving an extra couple of minutes, and it's not going to be forever, because eventually you're going to get over it and you're going to be able to move on, right? But just for that short amount of time that you can't seem to detach mentally or emotionally from that situation, find a different route. Even if it's 5, 10 more minutes longer, it's okay, because your mental health is worth that. So those are some of the things that you can do to clear out that mental static. Another thing that I like to do to clear out mental static, which helps me a lot sometimes, is doing all of those things. But also, if I feel that I'm going through a lot of stressful situations and I can't seem to clear any of it, is drink a few cups of white sage tea. So for those of you, some of you may be looking at me going, what? White sage tea? That sounds nasty. It's not that great tasting, right? It actually kind of tastes a little minty. But it's basically, you're going to take some white sage and you're just going to make some tea out of it. And I would highly, highly recommend adding some kind of a sweetener to it, either some honey or something to give it a little bit more flavor. But when you drink that white sage, imagine the energy of that white sage on the outside of you. When you drink that white sage tea, it can help you a very long way into moving into a more cleansing mindset, into an internal purification. And especially if you're getting ready to do mental and emotional cleansing, then you want to take a few cups of this tea before you do it, so that your body and your mind and your spirit is more primed for the situation. So that would be a great way to do some mental and emotional cleansing. Another thing that you may want to do, so let's talk about now energetic cleansing, and everybody pretty much knows about this one. So energetic cleansing, one of the best things you can do is smudge yourself. So you're going to take some white sage, or you're going to take some desert sage or some Dakota sage, whatever sage is your favorite sage, except for black sage, because that's not really a sage, that's a mugwort, that's a step 2, that's not a step 1. But any cleansing style sage, or you can even burn some rosemary, or you can burn some bay leaf. Any one of those are very, very cleansing, and just kind of waft that smoke all around you. If you're somebody who has allergies and you can't do the smoke, what you can do is get a water bottle and add a whole bunch of drops of essential oil. I would say if your water bottle is like 2 ounces of water, you're probably going to be adding about 40 drops of essential oil. That's how much you want to add. And it can be sage essential oil, it can be bay, it can be rosemary, it can be whatever feels right for you, or you can combine them if you want to. I like to add sometimes sage and cedar, both combined. They make a really powerful cleansing combo. Mix it in, shake it up, and then spritz yourself with it or spritz your aura with it. If you don't want to go through all that and you still like the idea of a spray, we have plenty of those for sale at Raven Moon Emporium. Kind of get a little plug there that you can stop and get. We have two different types of cleansing sprays. So we have a regular cleansing spray, which can be used to cleanse anything. One of the things I love to cleanse with my cleansing spray is my crystals. Works really, really well for that. The second one that we have is an aura cleansing spray, and that's specifically made for living beings. So things that are actually alive. So you can use an aura cleansing spray on you, on your pets, on anybody like that. And the other one is better for spaces. You can use it on yourself, don't get me wrong. But that when I developed that spray, the whole purpose behind it was to use it to bless specific areas and specific spaces with it. So those are some of the ones, some of the things that you can do if you're interested in doing some cleansing. So what are some of the other things, right, that you can do purification wise to get ready in this season? This is a great time to cleanse your crystals. So if you have a lot of crystals that you don't use very often and it's time to kind of get them all cleansed, you can take a smudge stick and go through your entire crystal collection and cleanse them. Or if your crystal collection is not very big, one of the cool ways to do it is you can get a salt plate. And we sell those at Raven Moon. They're about 8 inches round, about that big, and they're about that thick, and they're made of Himalayan salt. And you can just put your crystals on there overnight, and what that's going to do is it's just going to kind of remove some of that excess yucky energy that's sitting on top of your crystals, if you want to do it that way. Or you can do it with the cleansing spray. I would not mix the cleansing spray and the salt plate, so don't put the crystals on the salt plate and then spray the cleansing spray on top of it, because it's going to start screwing up your salt plate. Just put the crystals on top of the salt plate and leave it at that. There's a lot of different things that you can do in that regard. The other thing that would be great is if you have any statues at home on your altar or anything like that, it's time to rearrange it. Another thing that I like to do, and I try to do this about once a season, is just take down my entire altar and put up a new altar that's going to have seasonally appropriate items. So I always do it like January, March. I haven't done mine for January yet, so that is one of the things I'm going to be doing for February, is putting up an appropriate seasonal altar. Actually, what I'm probably going to do is put up the spring one already, and then it'll be good until the end of May. And then after Beltane, the beginning of May, after Beltane, I'll put up the summer altar. So that's another thing that you can do during that time. Another way to do it is if you have garb, if you have anything that you regularly use for your regalia, right? Your robes or any clothing and jewelry that you regularly use in spell casting, this is a great time to just whip it out and to cleanse it if you want to. I've heard some people say that you can toss in, if you want to wash it and you want to cleanse it in the process, you can toss in a couple leaves of white sage into the washing machine with it. I haven't tried it. Don't know if it works or if it's any good. My preferred way to do that is to go ahead and, if you're going to wash everything in the washing machine, just wash it. And then when you put it in the dryer, I like to take a few dryer sheets and dip little rosemary essential oil in that dryer sheet, and then throw that dryer sheet in to dry. And that will give you an energetic cleansing of all of your gear, your garb. And you can do this with your altar cloths. You can do it with your regalia. You can do it with your robes, really with anything that you need to for that. So this is the month. 'Tis the month for cleansing and renewal. Also, another way to cleanse things is to fire cleanse, right? So if you have things that no longer serve you, if you have projects that you're still having a real hard time letting go of, do a letting go ceremony where you take things associated with that project, create a bonfire in your backyard, or if you have a fireplace, you can do it in your fireplace and just burn them. So fire and candles both are huge symbols during the month of February for cleansing of all types. So I hope you all have a fantastic February. I hope that you guys will join me tonight at 8 p.m. in the wild community. We are doing our monthly chakra balancing, and everybody is welcome. And so anyway, I hope that everybody has a fantastic February and get cleansing. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.